Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's the end of October, spooky season and all of that, so naturally I'll be focusing on horror manga. So you would think, I mean I am actually focusing on horror manga, but your girl is worse. She has never read a horror manga in her life, just once I think. It was Pygmalion, and that's only because it was part of the manga club recommendation. Otherwise I would not have read it, because you probably already know I only focus on like slice of life, sports, shonen, or like rom-coms, shoujo, josei, all of that. I focus on literally anything and everything except horror. Like I'll even try out and would like dabble in psychological thriller sometimes, but even then that's still pushing it a bit for me because like I said, I'm a wuss. Like I get scared so easily. I was scared watching Scary Movie, and that's not even scary. So the problem with me is that if you put any scary sort of idea in my head, I'll spend ages thinking about it. So if you want to scare anyone very easily, I am your girl. But yeah, I would not be reading Junji Ito's work. I have purposely avoided it my entire life just because I'm that scared of trying it out. But Tudz and her platform with her friends called Four Eyes Academia, I'm going to put both of their links down in my description below, so make sure you check them out. They're really cool. I mean, they do everything nerd related, so I mean, if you're here, then you probably are a nerd. I hate to break it to you. So yeah, definitely check them out. But like I said, they're organising, well, they were organising a Junji Ito read-along for October for Halloween. So I was like, fine, I'll give it a go. By force. Not by force, but, you know, FOMO, so I had to join in. But yeah, so today I'll be focusing on Shiver and Gyo. So Shiver is a bunch of short stories that Junji Ito picked out himself. So I was actually slightly excited, not that excited, but kind of excited to check it out because, you know, he picked out his own story, so I feel like it has meaning to it. Also, the thing with this is that he includes commentary, which was really useful because you get to see how he thinks, and it's like, what I've noticed is that he turns ordinary things scary, and it's just like you get excited just understanding, like a tiny little snippet into how Junji Ito's mind actually works and how he puts things together, and it's like something that's not scary at all, he can turn it scary, and you're just there like, that's why they call him the horror manga master or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, this cover in itself is scary AF. Like, I mean, it's going like this in my shelf, and like probably put something in front of it just so I don't ever have to look at it, because like I said, I'm a wuss. But yeah, and this is Gyo's cover. Although it doesn't look scary on the outside, it looks, this isn't that scary. It's a fish with legs, which I'll tap into later on, obviously. But the back, bruh, I mean, look at, I kind of feel a bit sick now, I don't know why I did that. But yeah, so I'm going to start off with Gyo, unfortunately. I don't even know I just need to compose myself, hang on a sec. So with Gyo, I picked it on a whim. I was going to pick either this, Uzumaki or Tomie, just because I wanted to see how his storytelling was different in a longer read compared to his short stories. So yeah, I didn't know what I was getting myself into with Gyo. I didn't read the synopsis of any of the three mangas because I knew that if I did, I'd probably chicken out and scare myself out of actually going to read one of his mangas. So I went in blind to Gyo. So anyways, for you guys, Gyo is about this young couple that are holidaying in Okinawa, and they come across this really bad smell, which later on we find out is called the death stench. And they find out that this death stench is coming from these walking fishes, like these fishes with the legs, like what you saw here. Don't worry, I won't scare myself with this image because this image isn't scary to me. It's just a bit weird, you know? So at first I thought, okay, I can do this, I'm a wisp, but I can do comedic horror at least, because the idea of fish with legs running around trying to like bite people was a bit, or just a bit like, really? Like, is this like supposed to be scary? But honestly, like, that was just the setup. It's a slow burner of a book, but that was just the setup. It doesn't throw you in the deep end, but the more you read, the more sinister the plot gets. And it starts off as, well, it seems to start off as a comedic horror, but then it actually turns into body horror, which I think in Gyo at least, because I don't know many of his works, Junji Ito was very good at body horror, because even in his short stories, like, his art style is horrific. And obviously, I mean, I know it's supposed to be, but the images are really scary. Like, they really stay with you for a long while, and it's so gruesome. Like, I showed you the bag, I'm not going to show you again, but that image stayed with me and gave me nightmares for a long while. And like, yeah, yeah, the images really do stay with you. But as I was saying, with Gyo, the plot becomes more sinister, and the thing with the body horror is that it's very violating. Like, the body horror is really violating. You feel kind of like icky and violated, because the horror is very exposing. Like, there's insertion of parts where they shouldn't be. Like, you feel really grossed out. Just reading it, seeing the images, you feel really grossed out, honestly. I mean, as I was saying, the body horror is gruesome. It's really gross. But it's not just the body horror. His storytelling is great. And he's really good at making you feel unsettled, scared, confused. Like, honestly, confusion is like a big part of his story, because as I was saying, the more you read it, the more sinister the plot gets, and he'll give you these pieces of the puzzle, and you're like, okay, you have these bits of information, you're like, okay, I understand a bit more now, but then all these other questions, like, you know, crop up in your mind, and you're just there like, okay, you've given me more information, but at the same time I'm having all these other questions, because you're trying to make sense of what's going on, and really and truly you're just thinking, hang on a minute, why is all of this happening? How did it even start? Like, I mean, you do get, like, you know, background on how it started, but even then it's still a theory, and you're still very much, you know, in the unknown. And I feel as though he uses the fear of the unknown really well, because that's what humans in general are scared of, right? Like, we're scared of the unknown. Like, uncertainty all makes us feel a bit, like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but it does put you on edge, doesn't it? Like, uncertainty puts you on edge. Like, what's going to happen tomorrow? Have I planned out for this in day-to-day life? So when you're going through the book and you're trying to make sense of what's happening in the book, you're like, hang on a minute. Even by the time you get to the end, not all your questions are answered, and it's a very open ending. Like, as much as you know what happens to the couple in the end, the way this story is set out, you want to know more about what's happened in general, like, about the actual situation itself. And I think that's what makes it a good ending, because you just spend ages thinking about it. And that kind of gave me nightmares, because I'll just sit there in bed thinking, but why did that happen? But why did this happen? And did he ever figure this out? And even though this happened to her, like, how did he deal with it? And you're just there like, what is going on? Like, honestly, what is going on? What happens to the world? And it's, like I said, it's that fear of the unknown. And what makes the whole thing worse, which is good for Junji Ito because he's trying to strike fear into you, is the fact that there's no real antagonist in this story. So you don't have anything tangible to project your fear onto. It's just this force, and in this case it's these germs that have infected these fishes, like, and the way it kind of affects, like, human society. So like it falls into a dystopia, the line between right and wrong is blurred, so it's really hectic in the book. Like by the end of it, it gets quite crazy. So not only are you in a situation where there's like grotesque body horror, there's also this weird, dark, twisted rot that you're in. So you're like, you know, scared. You're actually scared. So, I mean, I don't know about anyone else. I don't know if other people find horror manga scary, but it worked on me. So I do recommend Gyo. I really do. It's a good horror manga. And I'm not going to say I'm going to get round to Uzumaki Otomi anytime soon, because I did not sleep for a week reading these two books. I'm just saying now. So, and you gotta work, so I need my sleep. So I'm not going to do that to myself for a while. Maybe next October I might do another Halloween read. Might, you know, try out Uzumaki Otomi then. But until then, no more Junji Ito for me for a while at least. But yeah, Gyo was great. It was a great read. It was compelling to say the least. It's very gripping. It's very gripping. But yeah, moving on to Shiver. I mean, I don't even have to open this one to show you guys the images of how freaky it is. Look at this one. There's a lot going on the cover. It's really creepy. Like, even here is just like random heads. This one's actually sad as much as it is scary. But yeah, this is one collection of stories. Like each story is gripping, I can say that. One more gripping than the other, obviously. I think depending on taste, you'll prefer certain stories over other stories, but I think there's something for everything. Something for everyone in here, definitely. So with Shiver, what I noticed with his short stories, well, this particular collection that I've read myself, can be more unsettling than Gyo, which is obviously his longer read, just because I feel as though with the short stories, you don't have time to process what's going on. They're such quick reads, you get through them very quickly. And so by the time you get to the end of the story, you're just like, hang on, hold on a sec. What just happened? Like, literally, what just happened? You don't have time to process it. There's all these, like, unanswered questions. As usual, I feel most of the stories in here, they're left with open endings, or things aren't as clearly explained. Some of them are, actually. I feel as though Fashion Model, and there was another one, hang on, let me just double check what it's called. Honoured Ancestors. So there's an explanation, like a small explanation, but even then, you still have more questions. You're like, most of it is answered, but I still need a few more answers, please. Onegaishimasu. But yeah, so it is a mixed bag. I think, like I said, there's something for everyone. Some stories can be scarier than others. For example, I didn't find Used Record that scary, but it was still unsettling. Like, it just left a bad taste in my mouth afterwards. So Used Record is actually a short story about a used record that has this curse, and it kind of curses each person that listens to it. And yeah, it's really short, but I do recommend it. But by the end of it, you're just a bit like, ew, what is this? Like, not that it's not even gruesome. There's no like body horror in it. There's no like obviously scary thing in it, but by the end of it, you still feel a bit unsettled, because you're just there like, what was that? It's a bit unnecessary and unneeded, but it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, which is what I guess was the point of that particular story. So yeah, I think out of this particular collection of stories, the one that left me the most scared and the one that I found the most horrific was Greased. Like, it makes me feel physically sick. Like, it's so gross. It's about this girl who lives with her dad and her brother, and her dad owns a barbecue shop. So the rest I'll leave to your imagination if you don't get around to reading it, but I do recommend reading it because it's like, it's so gross. Like, it incorporates everything that Junji Ito's like great at, leaving you confused, which adds to the element of being scared. Just saying it's not a bad thing if anyone tries to take it in a bad way. The body horror is awful. His art style is amazing. I feel as though, I mean, just look at his art style. Like, that's just the cover as well. Like, his art style fits his storytelling so well. I remember in Fashion Model there was this one girl that looked awful. In Honoured Ancestors, it's these heads, by the way. These heads are part of Honoured Ancestors, so I mean, you can imagine how gross that was to read. But yeah, definitely recommend this particular collection of stories. There's something for everyone. Every single story makes you feel, if it doesn't make you feel scared, it leaves you unsettled, so it's doing its job right. So if you're into horror, I definitely recommend Shiver, because Junji Ito's art style is incredible. His storytelling is on point. It always leaves you scared, and he uses things in an unconventional way. And I think that's what makes everything, like most of his stories, like afterwards I did read into what Uzumaki was about. It was about spirals, apparently. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't really know myself. But he does use like everyday things and he twists it in a way, and you do become like he uses things in such a way where it scares you and it is unconventional. And I think the fact that he does such unconventional stories is what makes everyone scared, is what makes him the horror manga master. So definitely check it out. Saying that, I did think Fashion Model wasn't really like his best work in this particular book, just because I felt like it followed a standard horror movie slash story type trope. But other than that, all the stories in this, but even then, saying that, with Fashion Model it was more so the character design that was scary. So like, he uses all the elements of storytelling in mangas really well, is what I'm trying to say, in the most ridiculous way. I'm sorry. But yeah, peace out, and like, comment, subscribe, please. Bye.